And so we have to talk about the Honda. This is a curious car, not only because of how it's represented in the game, or the choice of the car being in the game, both of which I have theories on, but also because of the few but vocal who really seem to be defending this car in terms of adding it to the game. It's not like a crazy amount of people, but there were a few people who seem to really reel at the notion of anyone not liking this as an addition to the game, almost like bots, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe your family does own one in real life, or whatever the case may be, and trust me, I fully understand that owning a car does give you an extra layer of appreciation for it. Of course, there's a reason why I want to see my own cars featured in Gran Turismo and Forza games. With that being said, you still have to be realistic. In my case, for example, if I were to see my little runabout, the Daihatsu Rally 2, featured in Gran Turismo, I'd be over the moon, but I'm not going to tell people to expect it to be like a Red Bull. So with that in mind, how is the Honda represented? Well, by this point I'm sure many of you have already tried it, and those who haven't tried it probably never will, and probably also aren't watching this video anyway, but maybe for those handful of people, well, it's a very weird one, not least of which in terms of the choice. Yes, again, as a day one car, you wouldn't bat an eye. If it were in the Honda dealership, you'd be like, oh, okay, there's another normal traffic car in there, moving on, kind of like the other recent additions in this sort of sphere from Mazda and Toyota. I will say, this car has an immediate advantage, in my opinion, over both of those. All-wheel drive. That means that off-road, it should be better, and in terms of performance, it could be better off the line. But here's the weird thing, you can barely do anything to the power of this car, and when I say barely anything, you're talking literally just the ECU. So the power goes from 181 standard to about 187, is it? Fully tuned. Wow, what an improvement. Now on the one hand, that could be good, because that's about on par with a DC2 Integra Type R, so when you put it that way, it sounds decent, but let's be honest, it's no Integra, and it weighs 1700 kilos, so it's never going to be. You can drop the weight quite a lot though, so again, the potential is there. If I recall, it's down around, what, 1200 kilos, so not bad at all actually for a vehicle of its size with all-wheel drive and the hybrid system. It is direct drive, a CVT, I believe in the case of this car, as most of them are, so the performance is very exactly what you'd expect, and I have no fundamental issue with CVTs. In fact, the majority of times that I'd fly over to South Africa, the vehicles which I'd hire would have CVTs, and they're fine to drive. But that's the thing, that's real life. You're just hiring a car to zip around in, you're not doing track days in it. So when you take that and then turn into performance, well, this ain't no Williams FW15C, that's for sure. So it's not going to be flying around the track with that single direct drive kind of approach. The handling is not bad, actually, it's pretty decent. But again, you can't do too much to the car in terms of building it. It almost feels, in a weird kind of way, like a Vision GT car. In fact, it has a lot of similarities if you think about it to a Vision GT. It's a car no one was asking for, it's not entirely necessary, it has a direct drive, almost EV approach to acceleration with very limited top speed. You can drop the weight a bit, adjust the ECU and the power restrictor, and that's about it. And to top it all off, it's a hybrid. I mean, it sounds exactly like a Vision GT car. You could, I guess, use it as sort of a soft roader, which chances are I'm probably doing here in the video because it's far more interesting to drive it off-road than it is on-road. In terms of the standard numbers, we already talked about the horsepower and the weight. 1700 kilos, 181 horses. Of course, the point level is fairly low. In my opinion, definitely not as low as it should be. It's 381 points stock. That just seems way too generous. I mean, 340, 350 maybe. And gratefully, the price tag is dirt cheap. It's 46,000 credits. It has one of the most ridiculous names in the game, the 2021 Honda CR-V EHEV EX Black Edition. Okay, and in terms of driving it, well, it's exactly what I said. It's what you'd expect it to be. It's a vehicle which feels, quite honestly, if I'm really blunt about it, as if I haven't already been, it feels like a totally squandered opportunity. On the one hand, you've got Honda, a legendary brand when it comes to performance, engine swaps, everything. And let's say it as it is, it's not beyond polyphony. In fact, they've done it a few times where you see a new car and a motor swap for said car arrive at the same time. So there was no real excuse to not deliver this vehicle and then also give it that, expected Type R swap, which so many vehicles in the game can have, and that would, quite honestly, immediately improve the car. Even if it still had that stupid gearbox in terms of performance, it would still be quicker at least to get to that top speed. So it would kind of be like the older Tesla Model S, where the top speed isn't great, but at least it gets there pretty quick. Such as it is, you don't even have that advantage. In future, again, I could see it happening. If it were a rival showdown, of all the possible rival showdowns, the one which the least people would care about, out the Toyota versus the Mazda versus the Honda in just the most boring traffic car showdown you can imagine, the Toyota's definitely the worst. Even with the limited amount of tuning you can do to this one, it's still a better car to drive than the Toyota, because front-wheel drive just feels horrific on that car, especially off-road. In the case of the Mazda, well, that's the clear winner, because the Mazda is already better, and you can do more to it. None of them feel necessary. If we went back in time and Gran Turismo 6 came out today instead of back then, and you had newer vehicles in there, no one would care, no one would bat an eye. In fact, you'd probably end up buying them and having a bit of fun, kind of like vehicles that you didn't expect to be in there. You know, your little Honda City Turbos and the Honda Element and the Honda Odyssey, just to mention Honda alone. There are so many relatively normal cars, at least on the surface, which end up being something a bit special. Well, that can happen from a game in the reverse process. The reason why I love, for example, my Daihatsu is because of loving the Cross 4 in Gran Turismo. That power of marketing is fantastic when it's used well, but when you take that and then reverse the process of loving the car already in real life, then putting it into a game in a way that feels not only useless, but also insultingly limited in terms of tuning, which makes no sense, then yeah, it's just a really weird approach to take. So kind of a funny car to include, an even funnier car to review because of just how much of a fumble it feels, as many of these hybrids do. I wouldn't say that the hybrids are quite as bad as the EVs, but they're not far off in terms of usability, or lack thereof. That's it though for my thoughts not only on the Honda CR-V. I'd say it will probably be a controversial review, but there ain't that many people who care. And of course, that's it for my thoughts overall on the 1.59 selection of vehicles. Check out the members section. There was a video released earlier on today, as well as there will be many more in future. And of course, stick around on the channel for more GT content, as well as tomorrow we're returning to the world of beards and bikes, my real world motorcycle and e-bike review series to review a new e-bike. So check that one out if you're interested in the real world side of my reviews, and of course I'll see you next time. But for now, thanks for watching.